This is episode 26 of Deep in Some Thoughts, and today we're going to talk to my good friend Aeric Azana from the Geeksplained Podcast. Let's go! Now we're on to the main course, the entree, if you will. My good friend, Aeric Azana. He's here with us. What's up, Aeric?
How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm well. Happy to be here.
Did you like the homage to
your
podcast?
I did. That was clever.
Dude, your podcast, you're going on 3 years for the podcast?
Yeah, man. 3 years, over 150 episodes. Way too much time of my life.
Dude, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah,
and the time that I've had 3 podcasts, you've had one fucking podcast.
Well, but
How do you feel about
easy.
that, dude?
It's easy to just have one guy in the corner of his room just talk about kid things when you're talking about real life stuff, man.
Right. I'm not really talking about real life stuff, dude. I'm just fucking... Dude, my podcast turned into like me it's a weekly rant, dude.
Yeah, but you are talking about real life stuff. You talked about getting canceled the other day.
I was canceling myself, dude.
Yeah, and only a real
myself.
one can do that. Only a real person talking about real things can do that.
Oh, did you know it's National Beer Day?
National Beer Day?
National Beer Day.
Beer Day. Beer like beer. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well this is a new special kind of beer is what I'm drinking.
From Fry's, right?
Local California only. Sorry.
Got it. Oh, got it.
Local.
Got it.
Local LA brewery.
So we've known each other for a long time.
A long time.
Like over 10 years.
That's wild.
What is your first memory of us?
I thought you were just gonna say, what's your first memory?
What's the first thing
memory
you remember? What's your first memory ever?
My first memory in general is because I'm a military brat and my family moved around a lot, and so my first memory is in Italy. But it's not anything like super cool about Italy. It's like a hallway inside of this apartment complex that we stayed in, and I had my little little Tyco big wheel. And just like going through like the hallway on my little big wheel, like the kid from The Shining, like that's the first memory that I have that I can like think of off the top of my head.
That's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah, it's wild. But the first memory that I have with you, I think it had to be we were going to middle school. Go to middle school, because we would get on the same bus stop. Like because I remember we wouldn't get on at the same time, but we would get off at the same bus stop for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's weird.
I don't either. But
I think I just like to roam the streets like a fucking hood rat or something.
Yeah, because thinking back, like where your house was, the stop that you got off on was like 4 blocks away.
Yeah. No, well, Brendan actually lived closer to that bus stop, so I think I might have been going to Brendan's house.
Okay, see, I didn't know Brendan at that point. That was still some time before
we've known each other longer than me and Brendan.
Yeah, man.
Actually, we met at the same time, actually.
See, and like you're the only person that I still talk to, like that I met in middle school.
Yeah.
Because like moving around a lot, like I don't have anyone like I went to elementary school or like kindergarten with, but like I went to middle school with you. I went through the whole ringer with you.
Yep, we sure did. I remember we would get on the bus and I would like talk to you and you were so quiet and so shy, dude.
Oh, for sure.
You had your long hair.
I didn't have my long hair yet. I didn't get my long hair until high school. That was bowl cut time. Was middle school.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, bowl cut. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You had a bowl cut. You had big round glasses.
Mm-hmm.
You had like a red and black backpack. I think it was like a Pokemon. Was it Pokemon?
It wasn't Pokemon, but I do remember it being red and black. That is wild, the stuff that you remember.
Isn't that crazy? Oh my God. So I remember
specific.
like you I remember we'd get up on the same bus stop and we would try to like walk together, and then I would just get my fucking ADD ass would get sidetracked, and I would just leave you hanging. I would fucking leave you hanging and keep walking. I don't even know. But you had a red and black backpack.
I just started walking back home with the sad Charlie Brown music.
Yeah. Or no, I imagine the music from the end of the original Incredible Hulk.
Oh yeah, the
little sad piano, and you're all like
just going down this like middle school kid with his red and black backpack, just like walking down the street, trying to hitchhike 2 blocks from his house.
So you currently live in California.
I do.
And you said you're going on 5 years in California.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I moved out here September of 2016, and here we are as of this recording in 2021. Man, it's wild.
What made you? Because you kind of moved out of the blue. Like I didn't really know that you were leaving, and next thing I know, oh, Eric's in California. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So what made you move to California?
Honestly, it was a mixture of like a few things, because like I don't know if your audience knows, I act. I do theater, film, voiceover, and I had been kind of doing like an on and off thing with the Gaslight Theater in Tucson for like 2-3 years at that point.
Fucking amazing.
And I had also been really involved in the theater scene at Pima Community College, and 2016 happened to be like just kind of like a whirlwind year, because I was already like, for years I had already been like, okay, I'm gonna move out to Los Angeles. Like a previous guest on your show, Javier, we at a certain point early on in when we first started college, we were just like, yeah, we're just gonna like go out and slum it in our cars for like however long it takes. And that's obviously not what ended up happening, but at a certain point, like I got in my head, I was like, okay, so I'm going to finish up my degree at Pima, my 5-year associate's degree at Pima. And that's what happened. It's just what happened. Yeah. I am terrible when it comes to schooling. So, but 2016, I graduated. And at the same time, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I was trying to figure out, what did I want to do? Because I had done, I'd worked in several different theater companies in Tucson, and I had a blast. Like theater is like still has my heart. And I was really starting to get into film. I had worked with a couple different independent filmmakers in Tucson, and I had really like I'd gotten, just like with theater in college, I had gotten, bitten by the film bug, and I wanted to go pursue that. And 2016 was, not only, the year that I graduated college, the year that I was planning on moving out to LA, but it was also the year that I had a back surgery. And like it long story short, I have spinal stenosis, which is kind of like a narrowing of the spinal canal. And so there's less room for the nerves to go through. And I had 2 herniated discs. So I was like constant pain, just like, just hating my life. And I had kind of gone through all the different treatment options the year beforehand. And when I had gone into, an appointment to kind of figure out what we were doing in January of 2016, the doctor basically said, we have to do surgery. Like, this is the last, like, we've tried everything else, so you have to go in for surgery. I'd never had a single surgery before in my life. I was terrified. But back surgery could not have gone smoother. Instant change, night and day, just incredible change for my life. And at that point, after I'd gotten the surgery and checked back in with my doctor, they basically told me the way that your body is, there is like I think they said something like a 30 to 40% chance that this comes back in the next 20 years. And so for me, that kind of became this, okay, so, regardless of what else happens, I have got a limited amount of time to do the things that I want to do in my life.
To do what you need to do. It's kind of eye-opening.
Exactly. And so I was like, it's now or never at this point. And so once I was able to go through physical therapy, do all of my recovery for the back surgery, I went to work. I started thinking about, okay, I'm going to save up this much money. We're going to go. And all of a sudden on my birthday of that year, my partner had basically said, hey, I got us an Airbnb that we start next month. It goes for an entire month. We're going. And I was like, okay, here we go. So August, was just a whirlwind month for me, getting my affairs in order, having my, getting my work transferred over, which I was very fortunate to be able to do that. And, by early September 5th, we packed everything up and we drove out here, and we've been out here since.
Do you feel like if it weren't for your partner taking the initiative to, okay, we're going right now, do you think it would have taken you longer to get out there?
Possibly. I mean, we had been we'd been planning, and we had been trying to figure things out, and I think she could tell that I was getting frustrated with the lack of progress that we were making, because I get very in my feelings when I get frustrated about something, when things aren't going my way. And she basically, she took the initiative. She said, we're going to do this. We're going to sink or swim. And it's, it's worked out so far. We've been,
that's good.
Here for the last 5 years. Yeah. So it was a gamble, but it's paid off for sure.
Now, you were going to pursue acting and voice acting and all that. What kind of jobs have you gotten while out there? I know you did like a haunted house with Warner Brothers. Is that?
Yeah.
Am I mistaken?
So a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018. I think it was 20. Anyway, all these years are blend together at this point. You know how Universal will do horror nights, and different theme parks will do that kind of thing. Well, Warner Brothers, since they have their studios out here in Burbank, they basically said, we want to kind of get in on that whole deal. And so they decided they were going to do an event similar to that ran through October, and it was called Horror Made Here. And so it was all of the Warner Brothers IPs. So they had The Exorcist, they had the what's it called? The Annabelle, all the stuff, the Conjuring universe.
Dude, that's so awesome.
They had, all that stuff. And I, as a, huge comic book nerd, was super fortunate to be able to work in the Arkham Asylum attraction.
Oh my God, dude, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, man, it was incredible showing up and being part of, Joker's gang and the inmates.
I saw you
crazy.
I saw you dressed up and stuff. You were one of Joker's little minions, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It was basically based off of the Arkham games. And so I was one of the guys, if you've played any of those games, that you beat up on every street corner.
That Joker, the picture of him, was fucking terrifying, dude.
Dude, yeah. And
it was crazy to see him all done up and and I saw I think I saw a video of him just his laugh alone, dude. I was like, damn, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, man, all of them, honestly, because there were 3. So,
oh, really?
The Joker, kind of goes and attacks you, 3 times throughout it's basically like a maze.
Okay.
And all three of those actors are incredible, and they nailed it. The costume and makeup department was incredible. Like Warner Brothers spared no expense to make sure that these looked as authentic as possible.
Yeah. What was your role in that?
So I brought up the rear of the maze. So basically, like, once you've made it through, you've got I'm giving away the secrets to a 2-year-old attraction, but once you like make your way through, you've run into Joker, you've run into Penguin, Poison Ivy, Two-Face, Riddler, all of these iconic characters. You are presented with 2 hallways,
and then you get Eric.
What's up?
And then you get Eric.
Yeah, and then you get me right at the end with I was basically paired up with Harley at the very end. So I was a Joker goon, and I had Harley with me, and you would the Joker would be there, and he would force you down one of the 2 funhouse tunnels, and I would be there to like freak you out once you came out of the tunnel for each one. So I was kind of directing traffic at the end to get people out, and it was a blast. It was honestly so cool.
That sounds like a blast. I feel like that would be like my dream. You know what I mean?
You would like, have had a lot of fun with that. I would love
so much. Yeah. Now, obviously, I mean, we would work on projects together and stuff all the time with Brendan. Obviously, like, acting was one of my dreams, and it's like awesome to see that you were actually pursuing that. But now I have to say, you were in a Chipotle commercial. Is that
this is the dramatic pause for me?
I'm sorry, I was the gears were turning a little bit. The Chipotle commercial, I was like, yo, Eric has made it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though it was like a fucking like 30-second ad or something, I actually saw the commercial before you posted it. Or I don't know, like before I saw that you posted it.
Yeah.
So I was like, that voice sounds really familiar. And I was like, is that fucking Eric? And then I saw on your Twitter that you had posted the ad, and I was like, oh my God.
Well, the funniest thing about that is, like, they didn't even tell me that it went up. Like, I recorded that.
Oh, really?
So here's the story for that. So this was kind of my first, like, this was my first, like, commercial gig. Doing voiceover. I was very fortunate to get some awesome bookings fairly early on in getting started. My first voiceover job was for this documentary called The Kingmaker, based on Melda Marcos and that whole regime in the Philippines. And as someone with a Filipino background, like, that was really cool. And then this was kind of the next one. It was Chipotle. And I distinctly remember freaking out about this because I was like, this is a huge client. Like, I'm going to screw this up. This is awful. And I recorded it on the Thursday that the Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, came out. So we had gotten tickets for a 9 p.m. showing, and my recording session was at 4. So I was like, okay, yeah, I do have to drive down to Santa Monica, but like, I should be okay in 5 hours, right?
With LA traffic?
Oh, yeah. Like, because I figured, this is only going to be, a couple hours, and this is not the case. So I didn't leave there until probably like 8:30, and I was
shit.
Yeah, and by that time with LA traffic, like, it was going to be easy an hour and a half to 2 hours before I got home. So luckily we were able to get the tickets changed over and everything. But then, like, I recorded it mid-December, and I didn't hear about it again. When a lot of times when you record voiceover for this, for big clients, you don't hear about when they, release it.
Right.
And so I had no idea that, what the schedule was going to be, like what the time frame was going to be, if this thing was even going to like get, released. And then, like mid-January, it just like, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I clicked on it and it was my voice. And I was like, I found out that way. So like, it was crazy, man.
And they didn't even like say, "Hey, congratulations, we just posted your fucking commercial."
No, nothing, they're too big. Dude. They're too big time for that. I'm just some guy. Man. Like,
but were you like in limbo the whole time, or did you know that you booked it and it would be coming out, or were you just like?
So voiceover's weird because like you will audition for something and you won't know, if you've gotten it until you've got it. They don't give like they don't send an email after an audition to be like, hey, just letting you know we decided to go in a different direction. At least not most times. Like I've had it like once or twice, but that's a very rare situation. So you go in, you do your job, and then you kind of let it off into the universe. And if it comes back, great. If not, like you move on to the next. So I knew that because regardless, for that specific booking, I got paid regardless of whether whether it was getting released or not. But I had no timetable. I was basically just like, you recorded this, it might show up somewhere. And that was my knowledge of it until it was out. So voiceover's funny like that.
So when you audition, you record your own audition and send it out to them?
So that's kind of how it is nowadays. At the time, because I recorded that at a casting house.
Okay.
They asked me to come in for it. I drove over there, recorded on their equipment in their studio, and then went home. And then didn't hear about it until days later. But now, with everything going on in the world, a home studio is like the standard for the voiceover industry now. And so all of my auditions now come from my home setup, my microphone, my whole recording setup. So that's kind of how it is now, and it feels like that's where the industry is going since now a whole lot, clients don't have to worry about booking a studio out for their auditions. And now, I've recorded jobs for clients at home on my setup. So the whole industry has gone through this like big shift over the past like year. And I don't know where it's going to like end up now that we're on this trajectory. I feel like
it'll stay that way. I feel like it'll stay that way at least for, like smaller gigs, you know what I mean? Sure. Like unless you're recording for like the Clone Wars or something, they'd bring you into a studio. But I feel like it'll probably stay that way and save a lot of people a lot of money. You know what I mean? To just have you do it on your own and send it in.
Oh, for sure.
What was it like going to the casting house and the different studio?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't realize, I moved out here, and I would not recommend the way that I did things because I moved out here with no plan, with very little research done, and kind of having to learn stuff as I went. I'm learning about like casting houses and taking classes and networking and equipment. And so like I'm flying by the seat of my pants constantly and going out there. Like I've done several auditions at that specific casting house, and you get, or at least how it used to be. Now I'm getting those auditions like emailed to me like, hey, record this, send us back by this time. But at the time, like I would get, an email or a phone call the day before and be like, hey, are you available tomorrow to come in and read for this? And so I would confirm, I'd go in the next day, go there, get in the booth, work with the booth director and the engineer, do my takes for my audition, get out and go. And so like you never really know because they're they're an awesome casting house, and they do their best to like keep people, somewhat appraised of like what they're auditioning for. Like when I went in to audition for the Chipotle gig and for other gigs that I've booked through them, I didn't know that that's what I was reading for until I was actually in the booth for it. So
like reading it.
Yeah, so it's exciting in that way that you get to be like, okay, you got to stay on your toes, you got to stay at your A game, but it's also like super nerve-wracking because you could be walking in and it could be something huge.
Well, it's not like, when you're an actor, they send you a script, you read it, and then you develop a character for it. Yeah. You're just throwing you in a booth, and they're like, okay, go ahead. What's like a go-to, like let's say you're in that position, and they throw you in the booth, and then they're like, okay, go ahead and read. Like, what's like a go-to, like, voiceover acting voice?
Man.
For you,
because normally, at least in my experience, the booth director and the engineer are usually very accommodating when you need to like read it a couple times through to get kind of a sense of it. But when it comes to, just kind of getting thrown in for stuff, it all depends on like the type of copy, because like you'll get either commercial copy or animation/video game copy, and the approach to both of those is very different. Now, for commercial copy, there are a couple things that I like to kind of settle in. It's, if you get these kind of like commercial auditions, a lot of times you'll hear the nothing slick, polished, or announcery. So they don't want anything that like sounds like an old school announcer, or like anything that's like really like high diction, high, very precise. They want
like
something
www dot.
Yeah, like nothing like that. They want like something casual, like we're talking about. Like they want you to be talking to your friend. So you're like, you go in and you're like, hey man, like I know you're going through a tough time. Did you know that you could actually save a lot of money by switching over to Geico for your insurance? Like it might actually help you out. Like it's so weird.
Sold.
Like you have to like go in there and be like, hey, you're talking to your buddy and trying to sell him, whatever.
Right.
But it's, you look over it, you see what you can pull from it, and for me, there's always, what I was taught is that there is always character in what you're finding. Whatever, snippet of commercial that you have, there's still a character in there. There's still a point of view. There's still someone that you're talking to, and that audience is going to vary. Like, you're not going to, give the same read selling a vodka or a bourbon that you're going to do to sell, like, kids' toys. So, like, you have to adjust for that, but also, like, this is a snippet in time. So there's a before, there's an after. You're a person having a conversation with somebody that just happens to be trying to sell them.
Right. Well, that's really cool, man. Like hearing the backstory to all that kind of like, I don't know, it kind of answers a lot of questions for me, and it's like, it's crazy to think that when you are voice acting, like, that they, that you don't know what you're acting for. You know what I mean? That's still just, it's just stuck in my brain. Like I can't get over it. But have you had to do like any like dramatic or anything else where you actually had to like get into character, like
for
your
sure.
voice? Yeah.
Yeah. Like in different things, like, in auditions, you never know exactly what you're going to be going in for. So it's always it's always a mixed bag. You don't.
Is that you or me?
Yeah, that's me. I didn't think I was like, what's going on? I also, like, in LA, it's just constantly sirens and helicopters and stuff. So
yeah, I know. I hear on your podcast, and you're like, hang on, the dog's barking outside.
my neighbor's dog is a recurring guest character in my podcast.
Yeah.
Lots of opinions about the stuff that I talk about. But yeah, but like when it comes to like more dramatic stuff, like you never kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And so when you have to come in and like for like maybe a video game audition, like you come in, you're like, okay, now you got to be this guy who's like getting ready to make a last stand as all of these like huge zombies are coming at him. Like I had a trailer that dropped recently for the game Dying Light that I got to voice in, and it was incredible. But I played a soldier who was basically like dropping into a zombie infested compound, and I had no idea. I wasn't briefed that there was any like zombie stuff going on. I was just a normal dude thinking I was going in for a normal retrieval mission, and all of a sudden there are all these zombies here. So like that's like you getting in that mindset is like super. It's taxing. It really is, because like you're trying to breathe life into these characters. And the big challenge that I always had, you know, coming from a theater background, is theater, at least in my experience, always has a lot of ping-ponging energy. You know, I would, in my performance, what would feed me and what would help, you know, my performances was feeding off the energy of anyone I was on stage with and feeding off the energy of the audience. And when you're acting in voiceover, unless you're doing prelay or something that is out of the norm, you are by yourself. You have to, you know, go through this script while people are, you know, just kind of watching you or not even watching you. They're just listening to you. So you have to almost work double time to make it as believable as it would be if you were on stage or on film or on television. And it's a challenge for sure. I'm sure it. Oh my, I'm still blown away. Can you send me the link to that trailer? Yeah, man. Absolutely.
I want to watch it, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's so awesome, dude. So how does one get into voice acting? Like, how did you like decide, oh, I want to do voice acting? Let me try it out. And
so the way that I came into it is pretty much like the story of how I come into anything, and it's by accident. Yeah. Like I came into theater and acting in general because I was dating a girl at the time that we were doing a musical in high school, and she signed me up without telling me that, you know, she was going to sign me up for an audition. And that's kind of how I, you know, slipped into acting. And with voiceover, it was fairly, I think I'd been out here for about a year at that point, right around a year. And I was, you know, doing the whole thing that you always do, you know, during your first year, just being constantly stressed every day and feeling like you're not doing enough. Because when you get out here, and I've heard this from so many people, so many of my friends who have come out here, that first year is taxing because you feel like I only got a limited time out here. I gotta, you know, get everything done. I gotta, you know, book this giant thing within the first 6 months, and 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. So that first year is incredibly stressful when you're trying to navigate things, and even more so because, again, I didn't do my homework. If you are going to move out here or to any of those big, you know, those big cities in pursuit of like acting or anything like that, do your homework. I cannot stress that enough. But like I was super stressed. I was feeling really down about myself. It's easy. For me, I go through depression fairly often, and through seasonal depression and all that stuff. So I was in a weird place, and I was working at the time at Yard House in Pasadena, and I had a coworker who, you know, we had clicked immediately. We were really good friends right off the bat. And one day she was like, "Have you ever thought of doing voiceover?" And I was like, no, like I'm pretty focused on like screen acting. That's why I came out here, doing auditions, all this stuff. And she said, you should take the class that I just, you know, finished up. And she gave me the info. I had been told before that, you know, I should look into voice acting. I should pursue voice acting. There's actually someone who might be in the room with you who had told me that once or 5 times before.
Well, it makes sense. You're very, very well spoken.
Thank you.
And like your voice is, I don't know, like like when you came onto the podcast, I was like, Eric, you sound amazing. You know what I mean?
It's all the tech. It's all the expensive equipment. That's what's
personally,
doing it for me.
I would love to do something like that, but it's like I can't fucking talk, dude. do you know what I mean? Like I mumble, I stutter, I fucking like we were talking about it last week, me and Chris, that like on the podcast it goes away, like my mumbling and my stuttering. It'll pop up every once in a while, but like in a normal conversation, like I'll just be like, and then it'll be like, what the fuck did you just say? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like,
honestly, like it's all about comfortability. Like the reason that it's so easy to listen to your podcast is because you feel like you're comfortable and you can hear it when listening or watching on YouTube. Like you're just having a conversation, and it's like that's what it's all about. And really all acting is like it's getting comfortable, not just in your skin, but in the skin of the character you're inhabiting. And if you feel comfortable, that will come out. If you're nervous, that will come out, especially in voiceover. Like the microphones pick up literally everything. And so, and so like, honestly, for me, the way that I got into it was through taking classes and talking to people and networking and talking to, getting advice, a lot of advice. There's also a book. I have it somewhere. It's called Voiceover Voice Actor. It's written by Yuri Lowenthal and his wife Tara Platt. Longtime voiceovers. If you're an anime fan, Yuri voiced Sasuke in Naruto. He also voiced Spider-Man in the most recent Spider-Man games. It's eye-opening, and it's basically like a handbook on how to really get started without feeling like it's overwhelming. But honestly, it's just, putting in the work, putting in the time, taking classes, working on your craft. Like, it's something that you have to commit to, and it's tough. Because
as you do with everything, right?
As long as you are committed to it, and you will, if you're willing to put in the work and put in the time, knowing that it's not gonna pay off for you very quickly, you will gain momentum, you will gain traction. And it's like, I'm proof positive of that. Like I started from ground zero, and I'm learning as I go, even today. And so it's, I absolutely, especially if you are interested in, any kind of acting in general, voice acting is super eye-opening. Because once I started voice acting, it changed the way that I do any of my other acting.
And it makes you more well-rounded. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like when, you book a theater gig and then you book a voice gig, is like you can incorporate all those things together and
absolutely,
and boost your hit points. You know what I'm saying?
You can get some modifiers.
Yeah. So now, it's going to sound very narcissistic of me, but do you actually listen to this podcast? Like, do you?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm just wondering, because
you're gonna throw a super like inside of baseball reference to my podcast at the beginning of this, and then ask if I listen to your. Of course, I listen to your podcast.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to get into your podcast. You. Over 150 episodes. I've listened to almost every single one. And
thanks, man.
And the only ones I haven't listened to are the ones relating video games or anime, because I'm not really into either of those. But everything else, I've listened to every fucking episode. And my absolute favorite. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger there. First thing I want to talk about. One of your most recent episodes when you talked about the Snyder Cut.
Yes. We did a whole series, a whole like extra series. I haven't even said it yet on this podcast, but my podcast is called Geeksplained.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that in the intro.
We do like it. And we did like a whole series that I called Into the Snyderverse, where we went back all the way through all of the DCEU movies leading up to the Snyder Cut, and then we had a full-on Snyder Cut review.
So, I got a bone to pick with you, Eric.
Oh.
In that episode, you said that the Snyder Cut was the same movie as the Justice League.
I stand by that for the most part.
Come on,
I stand
dude.
by. I said it in there, and I'm going to say it here. The Snyder Cut is a superior story.
It is.
It isn't, this Frankenstein's monster of a film that the initial Justice League film was, with varying tones, things that didn't make sense. The Snyder Cut, from credits to credits, is one complete story, and I will absolutely give it props for that. But a lot of the story beats are the legit exact same as the first Justice League movie. It's just longer. Go ahead.
I watched the two back to back. I will say that. So one night I watched Justice League.
Woof.
And then the next night I watched Snyder Cut.
That's a lot.
And I will say it is a lot. But you know what? I took the risks. You know what I mean? I had to see how much better the Snyder Cut was going to be, because there was so much hype on it. You know what I mean? And I fucking hated the Justice League so much that I had to see what we were going to get all those years ago,
For sure.
And I think, there were some of the same scenes, but there was something that I don't remember if it was you or one of your colleagues who said, it's a 4-hour long movie. It's kind of hard to miss on a 4-hour long movie. And I agree with that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like getting a machine gun and just, spray and pray, and you're going to hit something eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was the same. It didn't give me the same feeling. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like the same movie to me, at least. There were so many things that they cut out that I think was crucial to the story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it was cut out originally. I don't understand why they would even do that in the first place.
Well, the thing about the Snyder Cut is it's, as it's presented to us in this form on HBO Max, it's not the original plan that Snyder had for the film. It's not, he's had time to tweak it. He's had time to, listen to some of the feedback that the first one got. And he's talked about, this isn't the film that he was originally planning. And the original plan that he had for his film is bonkers. And this one is, at least more coherent than his original plan. And this is a better movie, just bar none, period. That's it. It's a better movie. But I can't recommend a 4-hour movie to people. I just can't. I am sure that somewhere on some parallel Earth 2, Earth 3, whatever, we got a really solid 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes version of this film that is fantastic. I saw a report somewhere that anywhere from 10 to 15% of this movie is in slow-mo, and it feels like it. It's, again, it is not the worst of even, the DCEU. I don't even want to say it was bad, but it's not, it's not something that I see myself going back and rewatching.
Do you think that Zack Snyder just doesn't know how to direct a superhero movie?
I think it depends. I mean, I could see him really easily, doing certain characters fairly well, but the characters that he chose to incorporate and the characters that he chose to kind of take control of, and I've said it before on my podcast, like, I think he fundamentally doesn't understand them. And he works very hard to fit them into what he wants them to be. And for a while, for years, I had a problem with that. Like, I was angry about it. But when I finally, I kind of had the light bulb moment that it's like, these aren't the definitive versions of these characters. These are Zack Snyder's interpretations of them. That helped me a lot to, finally accept, like, okay, this isn't my Superman. This isn't my Batman. This isn't my, whatever these characters are. These are an interpretation of these characters, and that's fine, because someone's going to come along and do their interpretation. And so for me, I mean, like I said, there were things I liked about the film. I still think that flash sequence at the very end is stunning, and it's incredible. It's the best part of the movie. But, like, I have a big problem with how Zack Snyder treats the characters, and I'm glad that we're starting to slowly kind of move away from his vision.
Yeah, I personally think that, the Snyderverse in a whole is not great. It's not the best. And it's like, for what we're getting, I thought the Snyderverse was amazing. You know what I mean? Like, it was a huge transition from what they were building. And I gotta say, the epilogue at the end was a fucking waste of time, dude.
I cannot with that epilogue, man. I legit, like, I was watching this and I was like, you know what, this was 4 hours, but it's fine. Like, we got to the same end point as the old one. It's cool. We get the moment where he pulls open his shirt. It's the black suit, whatever. They don't explain it. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. We got to the same end place. I'm feeling good about this. This is kind of hopeful. Everybody's back to doing what they do. And I checked, and I'm like, there's still a half hour left in this runtime. What? And then this epilogue comes, and this epilogue made me angry. Like, I wasn't, like, angry about, like, the rest of the film, besides, like, how exhausting it is to watch, like, all the way through. But that whole thing was such a waste of time.
It was. And I feel like they were trying to set up, like, future Justice League movies that we know we're not going to get.
No.
We know right off the bat that we're not going to get it, so what is the point? You know what I mean? And I feel like they're trying to take, like, an Injustice type of storyline.
For sure.
Blatantly. But, we don't... It would be a cool side story, but, like, we don't want to see Superman lose his shit. You know what I mean? Superman is such a beloved character.
Like, I cannot understand people's fascination with evil Superman.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get
it. I agree.
I honestly don't understand why people love that concept so much.
I was more excited to see Joker give Batman a reach around, dude.
Dude, that was such a weird, like, I'm like, what are you saying? Are they a thing? Like, is that a comment?
Exactly.
What are you...
Like, they hooked up once back in 2012, dude, and now they're fucking, like, awkward exes, dude.
Dude, it's weird, man, and I have never vibed with Jared Leto's Joker at any point.
I hate it,
and this was like at its worst.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was just bad.
I hate it.
It was bad.
I was like, you know what? He's gonna get a chance to redeem himself, and it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Everybody thought,
and it didn't fucking happen. So, in your podcast, and this is your cliffhanger. My absolute favorite part of your podcast is when you do the pitch it episodes.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that idea? Like, did you have stories written already and you're like, you know what? Like, I'm going to act like I'm pitching this to, like a studio, and we're going, and then you're going to read it.
So Pitch It was one of the initial ideas I had for the podcast. Like, when I was kind of brainstorming what I wanted to do with, this podcast, I didn't know, what I wanted it to be, what I was going to talk about. And I had, for years up to that point, been pitching stuff with my good brothers, Jacob and Andrew. I had been like, we would go down to the bar, we would have a couple drinks, and we'd pitch each other like movies.
Dude, that's so awesome.
I thought, like, okay, why don't I just talk about that? And when I eventually, shifted into what Geeksplained is now, I kind of got an itch to like pitch things again. And so I was like, okay, Pitch It is going to be a special thing. Pitch It, I don't want to make a regular thing because I want it to be special when it does pop up. So Pitch It is for like landmark stuff. It's for, little, benchmarks. I wanted it to be a special occasion and stuff that I really wanted to see. So the stuff that I come up for that, like, honestly, like certain aspects I will have like thought up before. Like if I have like a casting thing, I'll probably have thought of that for like at least a good amount of time. But for each Pitch It episode that I've done, and I've only done like a handful of them, like I come up with it when I get the idea. So like, for example, my biggest Pitch It that I've done so far is episode 100 of the show Superman. Superman is near and dear to my heart. I love it so much. Like that pitch took me half a year to come up with because I knew that episode 100 was going to be my Pitch It for Superman. And I was like, I want to get this right because this character means so much to me. And so I was like mapping things out, writing up an outline, drawing up like the suit ideas. I had that going for like 6 months. So like when that eventually came time to record everything for it, like I had it all set up for me. I had it like on Always Sunny where Charlie has just like all of the like strings going across the room. I know where this is going. Like, so it's something that I love doing. I love just like pitching stories. I love telling stories. And like if I can do that and like tell good stories, like that's the goal.
Bro, the Pitch It episodes are my favorite, dude. And I listen to them and like that Superman episode, dude, I had chills going down my spine, dude. Like I cannot express this enough how amazing it is. Like especially when you like add in like like background music and you know what I mean? And I think there was a part where I don't want to explain it. I want people to go listen to it, but like I think like he's like floating in the air and you play like his music in the background and I'm like, oh my God, like the music just adds so much. And then the way you explain the story and tell the story is just, it's amazing, dude.
Thank you so much, man.
I say keep it up and, make some more fucking Pitch It episodes for me. So
yeah, I've got a Pitch It that I'm working on right now, but good. So it'll be coming up soon, relatively.
So because Pitch It is my favorite, okay, we're gonna close out here with a little game that I came up with. All right,
I'm ready.
I have, and maybe this will inspire future Pitch It episodes, but who knows? So I have a list of characters, pop culture characters, not even just comic book characters. There's some pop culture in here, and you're gonna give me a rapid fire or not, whatever, on what movie you would pitch to me based on these characters.
Man, okay.
So this might be really good, or it might be fucking trash. So yeah, get a good stretch in, dude.
Just gotta stretch out, get a good pump.
I'll stretch with you.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right.
Awesome. All right, I'm feeling good. Let's do this.
All right, so the first character is Joker.
Oh, you had to give me the first. Oh man. Okay, so Joker. Okay, so I am going to kind of steal something a little bit from a recent comic that's coming out right now, and I am going to pitch you Joker as a not Joker story, because I have talked about before on my podcast that Joker is not my favorite Batman villain. And I do think he's a little like overplayed, but I want to make a film that is a crime noir film about the Joker during the times between him getting getting caught by Batman. So this is a Joker film. Starts out Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum, we see Joker, sitting in his cell. He's, just gotten beaten up. He's got a black eye, whatever, missing teeth. And who comes to visit him? It's Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon, is basically like, hey, like Batman caught you, but there are still we'll say 5 missing children out in the world, out in Gotham. Where did you put them? And Joker said, we are going to play a game where if each of these children are essentially like strapped to some kind of like nerve gas or explosive device or whatever, you have a certain amount of time to find each of them. And it becomes a Jim Gordon story trying to go around around Gotham, going through Joker's old haunts, some of his old crimes, maybe working with, Harley Quinn or something like that, where he is trying to rescue these children. And maybe like at the end, Joker breaks out and they have to have some, climactic battle, not between Joker and Batman, but Joker and Jim Gordon, because I love Jim Gordon as a character.
Yeah.
So that's my Joker film.
Awesome. I'll talk to my colleagues about that and I'll let you know what we think.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Now I have a lot on this list, so
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I'm just gonna The Flash.
Oh, I have had a Flash pitch for a very long time, so I'm gonna set that off to the side because I want to maintain the integrity of this of this story. So
all right.
Okay, so we are going to tell the story of Wally West, because Wally West is my favorite Flash. Wally West is the best Flash. So Wally West is back in Central City after some world-shaking event where the former Flash, Barry Allen, died. Wally West is trying to figure out, hey, am I going to be the Flash now? I've only been Kid Flash. I don't know what this is going to be. So it's a film with him trying to figure out what he's going to do, and it's going to feature the villains as the Rogues. The Rogues are going to basically be like, hey, Barry Allen's gone, the Flash is gone, Kid Flash, he's inexperienced or whatever, and it's going to be kind of a coming-of-age story talking about Wally stepping into the shoes of his mentor.
Very nice. That's awesome. And I can't wait to hear the other one that you have planned.
It's bonkers. It's wild.
The next one is Throg.
Oh my God, Throg. Okay, so Throg has to be an animated movie. To be, for those of you, if anyone's not aware of who Throg is, it's basically Thor is a frog. So, but that's how the whole thing started. Loki, changed Thor into a frog, and he had to figure out what his whole thing. But Throg is an actual character right now. Yeah, separate from Thor. And so my whole deal would be it would take place in Central Park. In the middle, in the heart of New York City, Throg would have to stop a mystical thingamajig, whatever is going to happen that will end all animal life in the world. And so Throg has to go through Central Park as this, gigantic playground of different animals, different wildlife, recruiting them, getting held up by them. And in the end, he would have to enlist, the mystical Tooth Gnasher, who is this goat that Thor sometimes rides around on, and they would be going up against, they'd be going up against Roxxon. Roxxon would be the villain, this corporation that's, basically trying to raise Central Park to the ground and build some kind of giant factory on top of it, and Throg has to stop them and save the day.
Wow. That's a good one. I would pay to see that movie. Let's see, what do we got here? Marty McFly.
Oh, Marty. Okay, so Okay, so Marty McFly is a guy living in the future. His future hasn't really panned out the way that he thought. He finds out that the tamperings that he and Doc have made to the timeline have shifted his future from the future that we see in Back to the Future 2. So Marty is living alone. He's divorced. He has nothing going for him. He just got fired from his job working as some like ridiculous office guy, and he's sitting alone in the middle of his driveway, just staring out into the night sky, not sure of what's going to happen, and suddenly, like the DeLorean rips in front of him, just like does a fucking donut in the street, lands on the ground or whatever, and out steps a young man who he doesn't recognize. This young man is telling him like, hey, like this is crazy. You're exactly where you said you were going to be. Okay, you need to help me out. You need to help me out right now. And Marty's like, I don't know who you are. How did you get this car? What are you doing? Who are you? And he says, we have to go back to the future. You gave me this car and you kept calling me Doc Brown.
Oh my God! Wow!
And so that's Marty McFly, and it's basically
and that's a younger Doc Brown.
Just a time loop where, for some reason, old Marty McFly recruited young Doc Brown, and something happened.
Wow! Wow! Okay! Wow! That was good. Let's see. We're gonna try to cut some of these out of here.
Yeah, if I get too wordy with these, just give me the.
Oh no! Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm just gonna.
Off.
We're not gonna go through the whole list, but Bowser.
Okay, so Bowser is essentially going to be Godzilla. So Bowser tells the story of young Bowser, King of the Koopas, who is suffering in the Koopa Kingdom. His kingdom is rotting away. Their reliance on fossil fuels and unrenewable energy has ruined any chance or any future that the Koopa Kingdom is going to have. So he decides, as king, he is going to take the future of his land into his own hands, and he ventures out into the world. The Koopa Kingdom is very isolated. They've never reached out to other countries. He makes his way out and finds himself in the Mushroom Kingdom, and is immediately beset upon because of how different he is. The Mushroom Kingdom is very xenophobic, and he realizes that the only language that these people are going to understand is if he turns to violence. And we see the fall from grace of Bowser into this mythological eco-terrorist kidnapping princesses and fighting against plumbers.
Wow. Okay. Popeye the Sailor Man. So we start out on a boat. Where it had just been attacked by pirates. This boat is not looking great in the middle of the ocean. It is absolutely wrecked to all hell. There are bodies littered around. This is the scene of a pirate attack. And this pirate ship has just pillaged and plundered this ship, and there are no survivors save for one, a young man who was basically there to mop up after his fellow sailors, and he calls himself Popeye. This is the origin story of Popeye. This is how he became the man that he was destined to be. As he, heads into the ship, the only thing that the pirates did not pillage and plunder from this ship are the ship's supply of spinach. And so he survives for however long. It's basically 127 hours, but with Popeye on a ship with spinach, and we have to see him find his way back to civilization. Okay.
And he punches a shark at one point.
Oh, okay. And rips off its dorsal fin and wears it as a necklace. Wow.
That's how that happens.
Okay. One last one, okay?
Let's do it.
Shrek.
Oh, but the previous films were so perfect. Okay. Okay.
It was either Shrek or Mary Poppins, but we all know Mary Poppins is a Time Lord.
It's true. We can't touch Mary Poppins, or else she'll just come back in time in her TARDIS of an umbrella and just stop me from making the pitch because it's going to be nowhere near what it could be. Okay, Shrek. So Shrek is king. Him and Fiona are ruling over their land. He has some kids who are just, palling around. They're learning the life. And Shrek is starting to realize that he is bored. He is bored with his life. He is bored with this kingdom. He is bored in his marriage. He is bored. And it's ruining all of his relationships with people. He hasn't spoken to Donkey in probably like 10 years, ever since they had something called the Incident. And Donkey has been exiled from the kingdom. Shrek doesn't know what is, going on in his life, and his daughter is just becoming of age. His daughter is getting ready to go through all of the stuff that princesses go through, and his son is specifically, so he has like 2 or 3 kids, and this is the story of the oldest 2. So the son is feeling really not sure about his life. He is like, my dad was this huge, amazing thing, this ogre that like pulled himself out of the swamp into this, high position in the land. And Shrek decides he is going to go with his son back to his original home in the swamp. He's going to take him on a father-son trip. They're going to go to the swamp. And when they arrive in the swamp, they find that someone else has moved in. This ogre woman has taken over his old stomping grounds, and she is smitten with Shrek's son. However, she is basically like, you guys are ridiculous. You guys are, back in your whatever, like, prim and proper, prissy, whatever. And the son is total fob. Just very like, oh, good heavens, no! The swamp, father! Why are we going to the swamp? And so, like, it's the story of these two finding each other, Shrek realizing, going back. It's that classic story of, like, the guy who goes back to his hometown and finds how much it's changed and how much he's changed. So
wow.
That's Shrek.
Wow. Father, no! Why the
Father,
swamp,
no,
Father?
I don't want to go to the swamp.
I just want to sit at home and eat frog legs.
That's what it is.
Bravo, dude.
Thank you,
Bravo.
sir. Thank
that was
you.
amazing, dude. You're
Thanks,
so quick.
Thanks for giving me the prompts.
Yeah, of course. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
This was a long time coming. So
it was.
Before I even started the podcast, I knew for a fact that you were one of the ones I wanted on my podcast.
Thanks,
and
man.
Personally, I was waiting for you to come into town and try to catch you while you were here. But now we have this phenomenal technology that apparently we've had.
No, this technology was all developed in 2020.
Yeah. In December of 2020. We're testing it out, actually.
Yeah, the world's changed a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. But I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm always down to talk to you, sit down and, drink my beer and just shoot the shit.
Oh, I lost my beer. Cheers, man. Keep
Cheers.
doing what you're doing. Congratulations on everything, dude. You're fucking killing it out there, man.
Thanks, man.
And
Appreciate it.
killing the podcast. Geeksplained. I will continue listening.
And I will continue listening to you, my friend.
Thanks, man. So that's it, man. We're gonna cut it off there. I appreciate you coming on, and And I love you, man.
I know.
Dude, Eric's been doing that for like at least 10 years, dude.
And I'll never
man.
stop.
Never. I don't think you ever will. And don't be a stranger, dude. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep in touch.
Hell yeah, man.
So,
Let's do this again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I appreciate you, and you have the good rest of your night, man.
You as well, brother. It's good to see you.
See you later, bro. Thank you for listening to Deep in Some Thoughts. If you like this episode, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Deep in Some Thoughts. And if you're listening, you can watch us on the YouTube at Deep in Some Thoughts Podcast.